All right. Time to begin. First off, everybody, thanks for coming. And I'd like to say on behalf of HASA, thank you to Career Services, Alumni Relations, the Center for Science, Technology, and Public Policy, and thank you to our panelists for coming. Right here, Steve Clift. He is the Executive Director and the founder of eDemocracy.org, a Minnesota-based nonprofit that builds online forums to facilitate public discourse among citizens in 3 counties, right?
3 countries.
Countries, okay, 3 countries. A little bit order of magnitudes. Then Killian, he is the Political Affairs Coordinator for the Minnesota Association of Professional Employees, which is a labor union representing the professional and technical workers employed by the state of Minnesota. Chris Mitchell is the director of the Telecommunications as a Commons Initiative at the Institute of Local Self-Reliance. Chris advocates for the deployment of broadband infrastructures through publicly owned networks. And finally, Rachel DeCarian, who is the former manager of social media for the Margaret Kelliher campaign for governor. And before joining the campaign, Rachel was a regional organizer with Planned Parenthood for the Heartland. Now, the way this will go is each panelist will have 10 minutes to basically discuss their experience using social media and perhaps some unexpected difficulties, or just basically whatever they want to share. And then there'll be 15 minutes for questions from the audience. Right. And with that, Kendall, how about you start?
Okay. Thank you. So my name again is Kendall Killian, and I work for MAPE, the Minnesota Association of Professional Employees. It's a labor union, but we're very interesting in that we have 13,000 members sitting at computers all day long. So while you think about a union person being a teamster that drives a truck or a carpenter, we are a unique professional labor union where folks sit at computers. And so my job, I come from a background in organizing, so I always think of myself as being someone that tries to get people to do things, try to get people to contact their legislators, which is a big part of what I'm going to talk about, tries to get people to vote a certain way, tries to get people to volunteer on campaigns. That's what organizing is trying to light a fire under someone to get them to do a certain thing and to ask people to do things, and that's what organizing is. And there's often difficulties in organizing online because you're not having that face-to-face contact. You're not asking someone, can I count on you to come in and phone bank on Thursday at 5 o'clock? And then we're taught, as Emma Greenman is here, would tell me that to just stay silent and ask that question and force them into telling you, will you be there? And you can't really do that online. We do a lot of saying things all over the place and hoping people by osmosis show up, but it doesn't really work that way. So a big belief of mine is that while social media is very important, it isn't magic, and it doesn't replace old school organizing. And to do that, you still need to knock on the doors and make the phone calls and talk to people in the workplaces, which we do in a labor union or at their home or on the phone. There just is no replacement for face-to-face or voice-to-voice contact on the phone. So, speaking of that, I brought along a little article from our friend Malcolm Gladwell. So a lot of what he talks about in this in the New Yorker, I don't know if you folks saw this, is it's basically the theme is the revolution will not be tweeted. And it talks about how there really is no replacement for old school organizing. He touches on a lot of things from the civil rights movement and sit-ins and things like that at the lunch counters. And then he talks about some Darfur group on Facebook that has millions of people, but has never really generated much in the way of contributions or actual, getting people to do things. And so I don't mean to knock social media because I'm a believer in it. I use it all the time. It definitely needs to complement, regular organizing campaigns. And it is a gateway into a campaign and some, like we saw in the Obama campaign. but it doesn't replace it. And one key line in here is he says, Facebook activism succeeds not by motivating people to make a real sacrifice, but by motivating them to do things that people do when they are not motivated enough to make a real sacrifice. So that's often, you get these emails that say, vote for this project and rank it, in the Pepsi challenge or whatever, and get us to, because you don't have to do anything. You just click yes, and, maybe that project that you're voting for will get money, or maybe it won't. So oftentimes, Facebook and Twitter and things like that are a good use of getting people to do things that really aren't all that hard, One of the topics we were asked to discuss is what challenges have we faced. I know within the labor union we started a couple groups on Facebook, and we can't really go out and grab people and have them like our group. I mean, they have to kind of find it on their own. I mean, we could try different things to post it all over the place, or message people, or and get them to like our group. But I can't really get them to, it's hard to go find them out of the 13,000 and get them to do it. One of the best ways I've found is to literally set up a laptop at a local meeting and have them go and do it kind of in a real, like I said, to use face-to-face organizing to say, come over here and click right here. The same way I've actually done for different campaigns. I love to set up laptops to have people contribute, because everybody has a credit card in their pocket, so they don't have to bring their checkbook on that day or anything like that. So I get people to contribute online, but I actually get them to do it by being in the same room and asking them face to face. One of the questions we were asked to discuss was why we chose social media. I mean, I think that goes without saying. We have to. I mean, I've got these 13,000 folks sitting at computers, so this is a great way to get at them and to ask them, get them to do things, to provide them information. We have, amongst labor unions, I believe we lead the state probably. We have 5,000 or 6,000 personal email addresses of our members, which is interesting because they're state employees, so they have a state email address, and then we try to get them at home. They call it their home email. I don't know, that's kind of the baby boomer generation likes to call it their home email address. I often tell them, you don't have to just do that at home. You can log in at work or on your phone or whatever, and then that's how we can talk to them about politics and things, by bypassing the state email system, by getting their personal email address. We also use interesting programs called a program called Get Active that allows people to log in and contact their legislators. So they just put in their zip code, tells them who their legislators are, then I've conveniently written them a pre-written email to their legislators, and then all in about 30 seconds I can get them to contact their legislator on a certain issue. And we did an extraordinarily good job of that on a couple issues, and really have changed the legislative process by encouraging our members to contact their legislators. There's other programs we've used now where folks can log in, put in their phone number, and their phone rings, and all of a sudden they're calling a legislator. Things like that, have worked really well for us to get folks to reach out. But ultimately, an email contact by the legislators is not as highly regarded as a phone call or a face-to-face visit, because it's that easy, and they know it's a form letter and so on and so forth. So I think it has less of an impact. But I guess the bottom line is, to me, is finding that sweet spot, that hybrid between old school organizing and utilizing online technologies. One example of that I think the Obama campaign did really well is folks logged in and were able to make phone calls right at home, and using online technology, they were able to log in and make phone calls, and then 10 names would pop up, and then they'd call those people and record the information right online. So the bottom line is they're still doing old school organizing, but we're helping people do that by utilizing online technologies. And of all the different mediums available, I think that texting is something I'm very excited about. I mean, texting gets right at someone. There's no way to ignore it, and we are now working to accumulate mobile phone numbers of our membership, and I just think it's fantastic. If you have a smartphone, you know that if a phone number gets texted to you, you can easily just call it. So I now could text out to my members to call their legislator, include the number, because you can do it in kind of a mail merge, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're calling legislators like that. So they could just, within seconds make that phone call. So texting of all the different things is something I'm very excited about. Twitter, Facebook, well, they're very important, and you have to be there, because if you're not there, everybody knows. But the passiveness of it as you can read about in that article, I mean, it just doesn't generate the action so we still need to knock on the doors, and we still need to make the phone calls, and I still need to go out to local meetings and talk to people, and it's often the people that do the things online that are our best regular activists as well, not that, you know, there isn't as much of a division there. How am I on time?
Perfect.
Okay.
Actually, Rachel, would you like to go now that your former boss has spoken?
Hi, Margaret.
Hi, Rachel.
I was the manager for social media for Margaret's campaign, and now that Kendall's kind of put a downer on the whole thing, I'm gonna challenge him and actually jump to something I wasn't planning on talking about, but I just think it'll put Kendall in his place. In that we were actually contacted when we were in the primary cycle talking to people about minimum wage, and we were talking to people about servers' wages and what a living wage meant for Minnesotans. And we were actually contacted, unsolicited, via Facebook by somebody who sent us a message to Margaret's page and said, I've been a server in St. Paul ever since college. I would like to do something. How can I lend my voice? And we actually built a press event around this young woman who actually wanted to talk about how Tom Emmer was being unrealistic in terms of talking about how much money servers make and what a living wage was. And so that was a piece of earned media that came out of nowhere because of social media. Kendall. Okay, so, but to Kendall's point, you do have to know what you're trying to do when you get involved in social media. For us, it was very easy. We're a campaign, so we obviously have a purpose. We're trying to elect a candidate. And so we decided to go for a strategy that was a hybrid of, in our communications shop, earned media, and then also sort of fit very nicely with our field plan. Because if you're not actually promoting people knocking doors and making phone calls, the real stuff that Kendall loves, then your social media isn't actually being a recruiting tool or even fitting into the earned media piece, which is letting people know what you're doing. So a good example was, we had a weekend of MACtion, M-A-K being Margaret Kelliher, and so we were creating a little bit of buzz by using this sort of kitschy name. Margaret, I'm sorry, I'm bringing this back.
I know. I thought it sounded illegal.
We'll just let that one lie. And by actually coming up with a campaign to use our own hashtag for MACtion while coinciding with the DFL's hashtag and other ones that the traditional media had sort of set up, Hot Dish Politics and a couple other blogs, Politics in Minnesota, Minnesota Progressive Project had been using MNGOV, meaning the Minnesota governor's race and other things like this, and just sort of the hashtag of the abbreviation of the state. So using MACtion, we were able to tweet out different days of action and sort of like the mail merge that Kendall was talking about. You would talk about which congressional district you were targeting, and then you would plug in using an abbreviated URL with really easy tools like tinyurl.com is a website that will help keep you within the constraints of 140 characters if you're talking about Twitter. Or you could do a little bit of a teaser, and you're essentially making that the carrot, the tweet that pulls people into your website or to your Facebook page, or maybe you're just leaving them a number that takes them directly to their organizer, and you're also using that organizer's handle. One of the things that I think everybody who was on Margaret's campaign can be proud of is that we actually sent out social media primers. We put together sort of a master list of everybody's handle, people who were inside the campaign, different reporters. We used other nonprofits and made sure that we were all within a conversation. So not only were you tracking the conversation that perhaps the Minnesota nurses or MAPE were talking about, you were also going to pull them into your conversation by starting a new thread